Welcome, everybody, to Neo Tokyo's official podcast, Interlinked, powered by Shrapnel. Brace for impact, gamers, and prepare yourself for the sacrifice zone with Shrapnel. The world's first moddable AAA extraction-based shooter, built by a legendary, award-winning team behind some of your favorite games like Call of Duty and Halo. And they are kicking off 2024 with an absolute banger. People are finally going to be able to get their hands on Shrapnel during their early access season. And they are giving away $3 million worth of prizes. So buckle your chin straps and get ready to dive in and try and get your piece of the prize. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Playa3ull Games. They are inspired by gamers and funded by their community. They have a epic game on the Epic Games Store, a third-person shooter called Nexus. Hop on in there and check that out. They're also currently selling nodes, so if you're interested, check that out at their website, playable.games. That is a 3 instead of a B on Playable. Now strap in for the rest of this episode of Interlinked. Today, we are joined by the co-CEOs of Cornucopias, Josh and Rob. Thank you guys for joining us today. We've also got the amazing Ben, co-host, partner in crime in all that we do. Super stoked to get into this episode and talk all things crypto gaming. Rob, Josh, thank you for joining us. Let's kick things off with a little introduction for both of you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here. Always good chatting with you guys. Nice to learn that you are a snowboarder. We're going to have to hit the slopes one of these days and ride. But yeah, it's good to be on the show. I love what you guys are doing on Neo Tokyo. Quick intro. My background's in building as an entrepreneur. I've been in startup for a long time, like over 20 years, and I've been in a variety of different industries. And I love gaming. We all have a passion for gaming. So the team is built around. Our team is incredibly solid. It's built around a passion for gaming and wanting to create. And so Cornucopias is a game. Do you want me to introduce Cornucopias or just a little background on me?
Oh, you have it your way. Hit us with a little intro on yourself as well as the overall game. We'll
Yeah,
get it
sure,
rolling.
sure. So, I mean, the rest on me is just I love building businesses and taking them to scale and creating. And so I've got my dream job, and I'm incredibly passionate about the crypto industry and what it can do, not only for the world but also for gaming. So I love the space that I'm in, and it's great. Cornucopias is a AAA quality MMORPG game that's set in an alternate universe where humanity had a great calamity and was forced to ascend into the clouds, into the sky. And we have a variety of these domes suspended high above the clouds where they have different curated gaming experiences. And you can use your NFT or your player-owned assets to travel from dome to dome and have different gaming experiences. One of the domes that's, we're in pre-alpha right now, one of the domes that's live and being played by the public has racing in Toledo Valley Raceway. And we have 3 new domes that are going to be launching this year, not too far off, where it looks like Colorado, and you build up, there's rivers and streams and mountains, and you build up your property and you can work your land, you can farm, you can go fishing and explore and gather things and exchange goods and participate in the economy. So there's so much more than that, but that's kind of where we're at this year, and that's a little bit about Cornucopias. I'll let Rob kick off his intro now.
Yeah, my name's Rob Greig. I'm one of the co-founders, like Josh, Jeff, and Ant. I'm 25 years experience as an entrepreneur. I've been a gamer all my life. Started programming at the age of 12. I've been an entrepreneur and building teams for over 20 years. I kind of specialize in software development and business analysis, and I've been into cryptocurrency since 2017, where I was chosen actually as being one of the first 50 community members of the Cardano blockchain to work on their project Catalyst. And I suppose I've deconstructed and rewrote many games in the past and specialized in kind of like game mechanics and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, lots of experience and lots of games and all that kind of thing.
Would
Wow.
love to. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I was going to say, appreciate the introduction, guys. I'm a big believer in past is prologue, so I'd love to hear from the co-founders of what was the original vision for Cornucopias, and how did it come into being? What was its beginning?
So really, we met through a general passion for crypto. So we're both in the crypto space in actually the Cardano community. One thing I'll say just real quick is that we are multi-chain. We always started with a cross-chain interoperable mindset to try to really captivate all of Web3. But we did start with our roots in the Cardano community, and that's how I met Rob. Was he already alluded to it, was the Catalyst, which is Cardano's internal funding mechanism. He got funded for a project, and Charles Hoskinson was talking about his project. I made a note of that and reached out to Rob, and then he told me about his vision for this game, and we kind of went back and forth on that for about a month or so, talking, revising it, crafting it, and just kind of ideating together, and we got along real well in doing that. And then we kicked it off, and it was kind of like just doors that we kicked open. I mean, doors were opening for us. It was kind of an experience that I've never had in starting a business. It was like each time we tried to knock a door down, it was like it's down and we're moving forward. And it was like we hit the ground running, and all of a sudden 6 months later we had a team of 30, and it was like, whoa, this is crazy. That's my take on it. But yeah, the vision was originally Rob, and then we came together. He invited me in. We started going back and forth, expanded that, revised it, and it landed through adding additional team members and a lot of other people's creativity. It became broader vision, and we refined that. And then as the community has spoke and been involved and created with us, it's taken on even more direction. So it really is kind of a we, not kind of, it's a we thing. We're all building together, so to speak. And that makes it a collective, the genius of many individuals collectively coming together to make it the best it could be is kind of the way I describe it. Rob, any more from you?
No, I think you're right. I've been obsessed with games since home computers. Back in the 80s, the Atari 2600, Amstrad CPC 464, Commodore 64, Amiga.
I had both of those.
All of them, yeah. So we grew up in a game in I suppose in an era where games were fun. You had to make them fun. You had to make them sticky because you only had so much that you had to fit on. But there was various. I mean, for me, when I was looking into kind of Web 2 and Web 3 games, what kind of a game would I want? And I think I was inspired back in the early 2000s, sorry, on the Sega Dreamcast. There was a game called Shenmue, and it was the first single player open world where you could really go around and explore. And the best part of that game was you were able to walk and walk for ages as a day and night cycle, and then go into an arcade. And when you went into the arcade, there was all these various other games from Sega from the 80s, so you could play like Hang On and all these other ones. So you were playing a game within a game, and that would take you out of the open world, and then you go out and then you go and do other kinds of tasks. And for me, that was such a huge experience going back on to like the year 2000s and Club Penguin and games like that, where you had games within games, and that for me was the real inspiration for starting a big open world with modern technology, up-to-date graphics, where you could go into these different experiences. And I think when you look at Cornucopias and you see now you have this massive open world, but you can go into racing, and racing is in going back into the 90s, that would be an entire game within itself. It's really, really polished. Even at the early stage it is now, we have such an amazing racing game. And then coming in the future, we will have fishing, which will be at the same kind of high quality. But then you can step back and you can go into the open world and do tasks and explore it. You can literally just choose your own adventure. And for me, that is what Cornucopias is about. It's the horn of plenty, many games within many games, and you just play as you want, choose your own adventure.
Now, as you're thinking through like the lore and how everything kind of came about, the backstory of there was this calamity that happened and now it's in this future. Um, what did these silly creatures get up to? What sort of calamity are we talking about? And how did you guys really think about that? What was the mental model of approaching that?
It's a good question. So the lore is not entirely released yet. We've only released small segments of it, so I'm going to have to be somewhat careful with this answer. But the calamity was the result of an architect that was working on some technology, and there are 12 architects in the space, and this technology, there was an issue that occurred with it, and it was tragic, and it forced humanity to have to leave. The lore is something that we've got probably a 50-page, somewhere around there, document of the full story. We're actually in process of passing that back and forth right now to get it to its final state. And we're discussing exactly how we want to release it in a way that is compelling and really pulls people into the story. Because it's awesome. Like eventually, we might do like a little movie on it or something like that. If I'm really vision casting and we have abundant resource, we might do something really cool like that. But yeah, it's a cool story, and I'm really looking forward to release that, because that's the backbone of any game, right? You've got to have a story that pulls people in. But yeah, that's kind of how I'd answer that, really.
And don't be afraid to maybe leak just a little bit of the lore. It'll just stay between us, just the four of us and a couple of friends here.
I can give you a bit. I mean, the game is retro-futuristic. So somewhere I would say in the 1950s, on Earth, these architects discovered some technology, and that technology speeded up the timeline of human invention. And that's why you see flying vehicles that look like they're from the 50s, but they can literally fly because of this genesium technology. And
Genesium, there's some alpha right there, but
yeah, and then they kind of experimented a little bit too far, like you do. These particles collide with each other, and yeah, next thing you know, it's good job we had good technology, because we're now in the sky, because the Cornucopias is set above the Atlantic Ocean. However, there's no water left. The Earth literally is a little bit barren.
it's a good thing you got Rob on the show, because you were able to squeeze a little bit more alpha out of Rob. He's had a long day. This
Well,
is totally cool though. It's fine to release that.
it's
Uh,
deeply appreciated.
No, but yeah, there is definitely a lot more to that story, and we're crafting the best possible way to release that. And our game director, David, he's actually working with one of the writers that helped to write that story and that lore out, and we're working on incorporating it into the digital space of Cornucopias in a variety of ways as well. So it'll be pretty cool to see that unfold.
Absolutely. And thinking about like the graphics requirements to pull off something like what you guys are trying to pull off here, I mean, it's super high quality. Just having a little peek. I don't know if that was something that we could talk about what I was able to see, but extremely high quality. How did you guys make that decision of we want to go for the ultra high end of quality and graphics, and we would just want to max it out. If you have a slider on your game, you're like whoop all the way to the right. How did you guys come to that conclusion and that decision, knowing that people are on mobile, some people are on inferior machine? So,
Yeah,
what was that thought?
well, That's a great question. And it's actually evolved with the technology. So if we've taken down the old Unreal Engine 4 videos, but back when we first started, which was 2021, the market was starting to go bearish at that point. And we launched we launched our website in August of 2021. But we started building, and one of our programmers introduced us to some videos of this guy that was doing YouTubes. And he's now our game director, David. But we saw him. I reached out to him for about 2 months to try to get this guy's attention because I loved he had an eye for design. I looked at his videos and I was like, yeah, that's somebody that just gets it. He has an eye for what looks good. And we knew at that time that, you know, if we're in the Web3 space and with mainstream gamers and the expectations there, it's significantly different. Web3 is emerging as a gaming industry. And then there's mainstream with billion-dollar studios that build years and years and years and release 5 years later. We knew that we're gonna have to have, well, you don't have to, but like we took the choice to produce really high quality graphics to bring people in to based upon quality so that we can build a game for mainstream and Web3 eventually. That was kind of the goal there. And that's not to say that you all have to have this quality of graphics. But what happened is and so they were really high quality with Unreal Engine 4, but when Unreal Engine 5 came out, Rob, what was the date of that? That was like a year and a half ago in
It was
March?
about March 22, something like that, or it
Yeah,
was.
so it was 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago,
Yeah.
when Unreal Engine 5 came out. That was the biggest game engine release ever. And the leaps and bounds of ahead of any other game engine release that Epic had done, but also any other game release from any other engine, really. It is an incredibly powerful release. And it was a huge decision point for us because we're like, it could be buggy. We talked a lot back and forth with David, and we don't know. This is a potential risk to make that switch. Plus, we had all this work on Unreal Engine 4 already. But thank goodness we did, because that really empowered us to massively upscale graphics, to speed things up. Now, we did have a lot of we had like probably 3 to 4 months of writing code around Unreal Engine 5 bugs. Wouldn't you say, Rob? Like it
Yeah,
was
I
a
mean,
bit of a mess in the beginning.
but David had Unreal Engine 5 for about a year. He'd had the alpha and the beta version, so we knew it was coming. So as he was building the artwork, it was kind of made forward compatible. He always
Somewhat.
really had the
Somewhat.
foresight. And then when we made the decision that we're going to move over to Unreal Engine 5, we although we did have to pause things for a short while. It was not really that much of an effort to convert everything because we hadn't done major stuff. Probably the racing game was probably the biggest casualty, really, because we had to rewrite that again from scratch. But the others, yeah, we kind of upscaled everything. But then I think
But I don't
maybe
think a lot of games would have that. If you were further along, they wouldn't have been able to
no,
switch. Yeah.
the timing was just so good.
Yeah.
I don't think 6 months earlier or 6 months later it would have made such a difference. I just think the timing was just absolutely perfect, and nobody knew when it was going to come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to linger a little bit on the Unreal Engine 5 topic, we always try and cater the podcast to all the founders that we have inside of Neo Tokyo who are deciding on, what game engine are they going to use to build their next great game. What were some of the big features that Cornucopias has utilized from Unreal Engine 5 that's really like sort of pushing both it as a game and just gaming in general forward? What are some of the big highlights there?
Nanite and lumens,
Yeah,
probably the biggest. I mean,
yeah, there is no bigger shift really in gaming those two technologies.
yeah, they're
DirectX
enormous.
12, yeah, all of those three.
Yeah, and
And I'm
it's
not familiar
really
with
enabled
those.
our art to be significantly more performant. So more realistic and still performant. So and when I say performant, I mean we're an MMO, so it's got to replicate data back and forth from, 50, 100 people that could be in the same server or whatever it may be. That's a lot of moving data. And so performance becomes incredibly paramount.
Yeah, I mean,
So
and in terms of the technology, when you look at so Nanite and Lumens, so what Lumens did was Epic Games took a step back and they completely rewrote how ray tracing and lighting and everything would bounce off each other. So it gives a completely different way of looking at the world and how it's lighting and more performant. And they built on that well as it goes. And the better the lighting, just like in movies and in videos, the better the lighting, everything looks better if it's lit different. And then nanite is a way of building polygon triangles and different polygons on the screens, completely different. Before Unreal Engine 5 came out, what you would do is if you were building an open world, you would have different levels of view. So if you were building a tree, you would have the tree. You'd have the detail, a level of detail of the tree when it was close to you, and then when it was 100 meters back and 200 meters back in it, and so on and so on. And you do this for every single artifact or every single object that you have. So that means if you're building a tree, you'd probably build maybe 7 different versions of that tree at different levels of detail. But one nanite came out
based upon distance, right?
Yeah, based on distance, and nanite allows you just to create the highest detail of that tree, and it would automatically scale it backwards. But not only that, the way it would process and render it for the new engines, which is where DirectX 12 came in, because it's really tuned towards some of the later graphics cards. I say later graphics for the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah, that combination, that trio of DirectX 12, Nanite, and Lumens has taken gaming and video production, like a lot of the Marvels things that you see in the cinema now, completely transformed the landscape on all of that. And we were fortunate to just be in the right place at the absolute right time to take advantage of that. However, for the first year, it was very, very rocky. We didn't have natural things that were moving, and we had to create some of our own stuff, and then it came out. But now looking back 2 years on, I mean, it was
night and day. The technology, the math behind all of that with the polygons and then nanite, that's some serious genius at work. And it really does allow for it to be so much more performant. Huge leaps and bounds. And what Rob was saying with the movies, they're doing movie scale, like completely realistic graphics. You can't do that for an MMO because it just won't be performant. But I mean, that's the power of the technology, that you can so quickly make something perfectly realistic. It's crazy.
And is that the technology behind this upgrade from ray tracing to path finding or path tracing? That I'm a big Cyberpunk player, so that's one of the new updates that they recently pushed, and it sounds like it's pretty closely related. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah. I mean the whole, both of the combination of the performance of putting the amount of polygons on the screen and the lighting together. And the reflections and the natural shadows and everything all together, is really the breakthrough in technology.
Yeah, you can see some of the power of that if you go into Cornucopias when the sun is setting, and you can get, like, a lot of our community will post these shots in our Discord where the sun is going down, it's golden hour, and you can see the beams of light coming through. Just like, when you're outside and you're looking at the sky and you see beams of light trickling through the tree, the openings in the trees or something like that. You get shots like that, and it's mind blowing. It's just beautiful. So,
and I think for me, that's the power of technology is when you have the tools to be able to develop this, because we're only a small studio. We've got about 50 people working for us, and we can produce a game or the look and feel of that of a AAA quality studio, which, you know, in the past would have 1,000 people. You know, so for us to have that technology, but it's not just the case of having the technology. You also have to, you know how to use it right, and how to tune it, and performance, and really that's where David and his team and their experience comes in, because they can get every inch of performance out of that Unreal Engine at the moment, and it really is. I mean, you can see it when you play the game.
So how far away are we from a technology perspective from a video game and eventually, the more immersive versions of that? How far away are we from that becoming completely indistinguishable from reality? Because it seems like we're very close, if not there
You
already.
have that now. I mean, Unreal Engine will go to pure realism, so you look like you're actually
but
there.
not and still be performant right
Yeah,
now.
we,
Like
we
for multiplayer, you could do
yeah,
that for
for,
single
for, for
player.
multiplayer that's different. Yeah, for single player, you're probably there now, and we've seen some games on Unreal Engine 5 that just look. I mean, they just look like you were actually there. But we've pushed it to as far as we want to go. You can go further. You can get the metahumans and the actual realistic ones, but you know that we have ours to a certain point because we are an MMO. We're expecting, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people within the same space that gets replicated across the world. So there is limits that current technology and bandwidth puts us under. If there was no limits, we'd have something like the Matrix demo that UE5 brought out, where it is ultra realistic. But that is a demo, that's them tuning it, and it is single player. But yeah, in the future, you know, 5-10 years from now, you will have that quality as an MMO. You know, and we'll be there. We'll be tracking it all the way.
Yeah, and the beauty is we have domes, so we can launch a new dome where we test perfectly realistic new graphics in an MMO style when the graphics cards and when the processing power is there. But you know, that's not off the table. But we love the way we look right now, and so that's not necessarily
And
anything.
for me, the look and feel of the game is, you know, the artwork is very, very unique, and we build all our own graphics. You know, David directs that, and that is important. But the most important thing about a game is that the game is fun. So that doesn't have to be absolute realistic graphics or top notch. It could be anime, it could be 2D, it could be 3D. So at the heart of every single game, you have two things. You have the art style, and whether that game is fun or not. You know, so I would much rather produce a fun game than the best looking graphics game that's not fun to play. We just happen to have a really good blend, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that too. Like, what maybe you can kind of talk us through more of the core game loop, the MMO experience. Like, bring us through, give us the tour, if you will, of what we can do in the world. Maybe it'd be easier to say what we can't do if there's so much there. But yeah, just give us the deep dive.
So you enter Cornucopias, and maybe you're starting with your vehicle, and you decide to choose where you want to go. Which dome do you want to fly to? You exit, you enter your vehicle and you fly out. You might go to the cloud gates where you can warp speed to something further away, or you might just fly over to Solace, one of the domes, and venture in there because you want to build up your property, which has farming and all of that, or you might want to go fishing. And Rob alluded to quote mini games. We're not going to call it mini games anymore because we realized that, like fishing, which would have originally been what we'd call a mini game, fishing in our game is, because once we build out the mechanics for all of that and add the lures and all the content, we're going to have rivers in just about every dome there is. So right now we're looking at making available to the public this year 9 different domes on top of our Toledo Valley Raceway, and all of them will have bodies of water, and they will all be about 8 kilometers in diameter, meaning right now it takes about 2 hours to walk entirely across one of the domes. that's the length of time. So when you look at that, 9 different domes with all the bodies of water in that space, that's the world's biggest fishing game, literally. So you can choose from hundreds of different rivers basically to go fishing in different bodies of water and all sorts of things. So sorry, I derailed into some details there because I just can't help it. That, like, I love fishing and that gets me pretty excited. But
Feel
yeah,
free.
the core game loop is traveling from dome to dome based upon what you want to do. Whatever it is, like Rob said, choose your own adventure. You may be really into farming, so you'll go get into your land and work on cultivating your land and exchanging goods and go into the market and coming back and building up your house or adding value here and there. So it's it's yeah, it's an enormous vision, to be honest. But the cool thing is, yeah, we're literally going to be launching 9 domes this year and allowing for the landowners to claim their plots. So that's going to be huge.
And thinking about like when you're in an MMO and you're like an entity, individual thing, and then there's the NPCs and then there's the other players, right? There are, yeah, like I want to call it like relationships between, but like maybe you're part of a certain faction and that faction has different interrelationships with other factions, and there's like inter-game politics. And if you choose to do certain actions, maybe you become more on the shadow side, or if you do the other things, you become more on the light side. Like how are you guys thinking about that, of the social aspect of the decision making of the player in the realm, in the universe that you're building?
Sounds a little Star Citizen-ish or somewhat. I don't know. I'm curious to see how Rob would answer that as well, but I would say that we want there to be the freedom to explore in a variety of ways and participate in light or dark. I mean, there's going to be a freedom to participate in the world in as creative of a way as we can allow that to happen, while also still keeping it as somewhat family friendly in terms of, like, we want kids to be able to come in and go around and play as well. But Rob, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple parts of it. You can play on your own, or you can play, like you say, maybe part of a guild, or you can be part of a district. So when if a player owns their own land, and our land is in the form of like an NFT, you will be placing that land in a district, and then when you're in that district, you're going around doing various tasks, and you're building up your XP and your levels as yourself, but you're also contributing to the district, and as a district you'll then be able to have district versus district competitions. You'll be able to do raids together. You'll be gathering stuff for your own land, but you'll also be gathering stuff and doing quests for your own district. But then part of your individual character, you also have your character to look after, so there'll be various skills. And as well as you can choose your own adventure, you can also choose your own skills. So if you wander off and do fishing, then a whole menu of fishing a skill tree will open up, and you'll be able to progress through fishing. You'll be able to do mining, and then you can become a specialist in mining. Or think what we will see is we'll see in districts you will have different people that specialize in different skills, but the district will need all these raw materials together. So you will have people that go off really well organized. Probably the guilds will get really well organized, send people off in their different directions, come together. They'll be do trading amongst each other, and then the different worlds themselves, they're all different curated experiences. So Solace is like Colorado. Esperanza is very much like an old Western kind of art, and Fortune is kind of like an Asian, and they will all have different types of fish, different types of mining, different types of wood. So people will be able to go off into all these different areas, bring back, and the trading and the cross trading that you can do is the economy is just going to be on fire.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
have
it's
to
hard
bring
for us
on
to
a
know how it's gonna work out, but that's part of the excitement of such a massive open world.
Yeah, you explained that very well. We're gonna have to bring on an economist as well at some point, a game economist. We're gonna be working with machinations as well to do some Monte Carlo simulations and really try to get all of that right. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting journey. Rob talked a lot about the progression as well there with skill sets, and we just actually added a team member to help with that. So we're working on the back end progression systems right now. Literally started this week. And while we were sitting here talking, Rob, David sent a message to me saying he really enjoyed the interview with the recent programmer that we sent him a lead on. So
Okay.
we might have just gone up another team member to help
Nice.
with programming.
Bit of
So
alpha for
there's some
me.
more
Breaking
alpha.
news. Breaking
Breaking
news.
news. Cornucopias hires a programmer. Yeah. Anyway, that was a good message to see because yeah, that's one area that it's the good programmers out there, they get hired up very, very quickly. That's not an easy
Yeah.
find.
So we've just took on 3 people in the last week. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, don't stress me out.
Yeah, certainly
Good.
as more and more attention has flown into the space with sort of bullishness we've seen, it does become a feeding frenzy for good talent. So stoked to hear that you guys have locked a couple new talents and have one going around the rim, so to speak. We were discussing the economy. Definitely think Machinations is a great tool. Have had quite a bit of experience with that, and as far as running those simulations, it makes such a difference. But I'd love to explore where the economy interacts with the blockchain and the greater sort of tokenomics, the NFTs. This seems like sort of the right spot to sort of stitch that all together and really sort of paint a good picture for the audience of y'all's vision for the economy and where it sort of interacts on chain and where it's better to be centralized.
I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I'm gonna go take a stab at it, and then if you need to get more specific, just let me know. But yeah, there's going to be goods, and there's vehicles, there's NFT vehicles, player-owned assets of a variety of types. There's going to be clothing. There's going to be farming where you'll go and exchange goods at the market, that sort of thing. So there will be curated places and markets where you can go and buy things to build up your land and build up your property. There's going to be crafting of materials that you'll eventually be able to sell through recipes and things like that. And then that'll build up XP points within the game that can potentially be traded for Kopi or whatever. Definitely Kopi in terms of the token has utility in game, so you'll be able to buy certain assets with Kopi that you can't buy anywhere else. That's one element of the utility, and in addition to the governance, it's an in-game kind of thing as well. Did that go in the right direction there, or were you wanting something different?
No, yeah, I was looking for an overview really of the economy, and then on a specific note, what's y'all's strategy as far as what portion of that economy are you going to have on chain versus what portion of that economy is going to be centralized, and maybe a little bit of just the overall strategy behind that.
I think what we're looking at is we're looking at running the game in different seasons. So we have a pie chart where we have a fixed amount of Kopi that we're going to distribute every season. So the economy can't get out of hand. We have different levers that we built into the game. We have a portion that's going to go to landowners, portion that's going to go to players, and also we're as well as innovating in the Web3 space in terms of gaming, we're also innovating in terms of infrastructure as well. So we have we build our own node system at the moment, and we currently have we've sold nodes on Cardano, and we're currently selling them on the base network, and that's ongoing at the moment. And what nodes are they're an opportunity for people to host a decentralized host part of our game, because as our game grows and people download it, rather than downloading everything from Amazon, they can download them from this distributed file system. So we're innovating in that area as well, and then in the future we'll innovate in terms of people will be able to host kind of like server nodes as well. So the economy is this pie chart that is fixed per month to control the economy, so it doesn't get out of hand, and it replenishes itself. There's sinks and faucets built into them, coupled up with machinations to make sure that we don't mess up but we do think we will probably mess up somewhere, which is why
We
all
know
these
we will.
controls and
Yeah.
balances are in there. Go on, John.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. We know we will, and that, but the good thing is that we're doing all of our due diligence. We not only had a tokenomics expert, a mathematician and scientist that helped us to model out from the very macro view of the flow of all of that. Then we're working with machinations, and we're going to get a game economist to work on more of the micro in-game economy and how that relates to the tokenomics as well. So all of that will be relying upon experts. And what we'll do is we'll scale things out slowly so we can test over time. So we're not going to start with 2,000 goods and services that you can buy, trade. It's going to be, we'll scale it up over time and test and refine and model and allow ourselves to make mistakes when it's inconsequential, and therefore just build it up and refine as we go. That's kind of our thinking on it. But yeah, that's a monumental task, really. And we're excited to embark on that because that's coming very soon, but it's going to be fun. I think it's going to make the game incredibly fun too, really.
Yeah, it's been a while really since like economies were built from scratch. I've been reading back to I just finished a book called Whiskey Rebels, which goes back to the forming of the United States Bank and sort of around that Hamilton period. And it really shows the connection between that time period and the tokenomics being built out now, where smart people were trying to figure out how do you give things value? How do you keep things in check? So there's really, almost a renaissance of economic theory going on in our space, which probably doesn't get the credit that it deserves in the academic circles, but that can only last for so long. You brought up the base chain. This is obviously a new comer to our ecosystem, obviously backed by some pretty amazing people in the space. Would love to know what attracted you guys to the base chain and sort of from a technological standpoint, what sort of things it enabled that you guys found attractive for Cornucopias.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually glad Rob brought up the nodes because that's an exciting first step. So in terms of our token, we started on Binance, then it was on Cardano, then we launched on Uniswap. So now we're on Ethereum as well. And that's part of our strategy of interoperability. But then there's NFTs. And so most of the NFTs are currently on Cardano, but we wanted to expand out. And so we did a lot of back and forth research on where do our NFTs need to go, because we're gonna need dynamic NFTs that can change and evolve and things of that nature. And so we had to do a lot of back and forth on that. But base, really, it's like, well, number one, it's on Ethereum, so we needed a layer two that makes sense for gamers, because you can't transact at those level of costs in an in-game economy. That's just not going to work, right? So that was a big part of base. And we like what they're doing. They got great volume, and it's taken off well. That doesn't mean it's going to be the only one. We might do NFTs on something else as well. But yeah, that was just a start for us, and the node sale's going great. I think we have something incredible. Rob already built the proof of concept for it, and we've brought on a really incredible programmer to help spec that and take it from the proof of concept to commercially viable. And one thing that Rob didn't note on the nodes is it massively improves the user experience. So, you might have a long download time. This is going to help significantly increase the download speed for some. For others, you may not have that issue. And it's also removing that single point of failure. So you've got, it's a step towards decentralization for us. So the people are downloading the game from all over, and it's just improving user onboarding and user experience. So I think that's a huge endeavor that Rob really led off, and it's been perfect timing too, because we're rocking along with that. I'm very excited to have that released by July, at least, if not before. It could be before, because things are going very well with that new team member there.
Yeah, and maybe we can scope out a little bit and talk about the crypto gaming landscape as a whole, because there's so many different chains now. There's so many different ways that people are trying to tackle different problems. Like some people are going the node route, some people are choosing not to go the node route. Some people are going Solana or Avalanche. Some people are going Ethereum on the L2s. So maybe you guys could share kind of what you've learned kind of going through this process so far and what you've seen, and where are we with it all? Like, is it just kind of everybody's just having a free for all and we're just everywhere and experimenting but we're not really getting anywhere? Like, are we really starting to see some clear winners of like, okay, this is what best in class means today for the crypto gaming industry, and this is, this is people this is a strategy that's working very well. This strategy is not working as well. Like, maybe we could just kind of get a little bit meta with it.
I mean, I think the space is still extremely young, so we
Me
don't
too.
know who the winners are going to be. But one of the beauties of designing the game the way we have with our APIs is that we can read from any single blockchain, whether it exists today or whether it exists in the future. We're an API away from pulling wallets in from anywhere. And I think, the reason why we have to be interoperable is because gamers are everywhere. Gamers are not just on one chain. Gamers are not just on chains. They're on different devices as well. We had to
They're on
start somewhere,
mainstream.
which is why
They're
we
not on
started on the
chains.
PC.
Yeah.
Well, we started on Cardano because we had a long history and we knew that chain. You go to the lowest risk is what you're looking for when you're in a startup. We knew Cardano very well and we knew the PC very well, and we now know other chains as well as so. But we don't want to expand too quickly. You want to expand when you are ready. So we're testing the water with Ethereum, the base chain, and it's gone extremely well. We've sold an enormous amount of nodes already on Ethereum. We've sold an enormous amount on Cardano as well. And in the future we will expand, but we will expand to PC. We will go to Xbox. We will go to PlayStation. We will go. We're on Cardano. We're on base. It's natural to go to Binance and some of the Ethereum, the other EVM chains. Not because we want to expand across blockchain. It's just that's where the players are. That's where the gamers are, and we don't want to restrict the amount of players that we can have just because they're on one or particular. We don't believe in maxes. Although if maxes do exist, just like there's maxes on the Xbox and there's maxes on the PlayStation, you just quite happily get your NFTs from that station. But we will be compatible with everyone everywhere because that's what gamers are. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and further to that question, I completely agree. Further to that question, the status and state of the industry of Web3 gaming, so to speak. I completely agree with Rob. It is very, very early. Everybody's kind of paving their way with their own form of innovation and story. And I think there are some powerful, amazing projects out there really starting to emerge. And it's exciting to see what others are doing. But in the end, whatever approach you take, it goes back to, is the game fun? And are you making it as easy as possible for user onboarding and for other gamers to come in and play? And that's not just Web3, that's also mainstream. We've done a lot of thinking and innovation around how are we going to bring in mainstream when we get to that stage that we're ready to market to mainstream. We're not there yet because mainstream gamers have a lot of different expectations and things of that nature, but we might be ready for that later this year. We want to have more content up and more of the complete game loop available before we go there. But yeah, we've been thinking in terms of user onboarding, making it fun, making it easy to come and participate with what we're doing. And so that's what all of that is about, really. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of mistakes made in Web3 gaming, and you're going to see some emerge incredibly well. And it's exciting to see what's going to happen this coming bull cycle, because there are a lot of players this time compared to last cycle.
I noticed neither of you guys mentioned Solana. What's up with that?
Well, I can't say who we're looking at working with next, but we do have another chain in mind potentially, but I can't announce what that is right now. There's more team discussion required and a final stamp of approval. But yeah, we're looking around as well. Yeah.
And sort
There's
of in
only
the
so much you could do. I mean, we can't integrate with every chain. Like Rob said, we can read in assets from any chain quite easily with the APIs. But when it comes to minting the NFTs and having the ability with each NFT protocol to be able to do the same thing, so we have a consistent experience with each NFT, that's more the challenge there. So it becomes a little bit more limited in what you can do. But yeah.
Yeah, and then to maybe expand the topic from the general crypto gaming space and kind of tie it to Cornucopias, the dome, the like sort of the lore piece and the gameplay piece of having these separate domes seems like it would work really well for collaborative efforts with other games. Is that something that you guys have looked at? For instance, there could be a dome that had, let's say, a futuristic Tokyo inside, and you could collaborate with Neo Tokyo, or a jungle and do it with Cyberkongs. Is that something you guys have been exploring? It would seem like a very cool fit.
Rob and I have had many conversations around stuff like that. And it's a very exciting venture for us to explore. We would love to build out a Neo Tokyo Dome. So, the basics of that is we're not quite there yet where we can start doing that. We want to get the full game loop, the progression, the mechanics in. We want to get more of what we've originally promised to community delivered and get that going. And then when the full game loop's in place, we can start building out specialized teams for different things. So one of the specialized teams could be all about building out custom domes. And we have custom dome NFTs out there. And the intent for those custom domes is you'll be able to grab many different building kits and utilize those building kits to create your own game, so to speak. So let's say you guys at Neo Tokyo bought a custom dome and we put our tropical building kit out there and our PvP building kit out there. So you wanted to create a PvP battlefield where you can bring your community in and sell tickets and then just have a contest and create a winner. That's the kind of thing that we're moving towards with the custom domes, which we're very, very excited about. But that allows for different partnerships like you're talking about. And that's something that I really love. When I can't wait for us to do that. Rob and I talk about it all the time. How do we accelerate that? How do we start that now? But the reality is we have a huge vision and we're getting closer and closer to that. When the full game loop is in place, which should be this year, we should be able to start building out specialist teams around things like that.
Perfect. You heard it here first, everybody. Eventually there will be a Neo Tokyo Dome coming.
Yeah, love it.
Definitely.
And a little bit of alpha. Don't eat
I
the
have
fish.
a couple team members that are going to shoot me when they hear that, but not because we don't like Neo Tokyo, more because they're like, "Oh my God, are you adding something else to my plate right now?"
And a little bit of alpha. Make sure you don't eat the fish in the Neo Tokyo Dome.
Oh, no. Why are they radioactive?
Neo Tokyo has been through the ringer. I wouldn't eat the fish. That's all I'm going to say.
That'd be exciting to catch that.
Maybe there's some interesting war fish with deformed, like crazy fish that fly out and eat your face or something. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Who knows?
This is where the fun begins.
Yeah, right. We can ideate all day long. Yeah, it's a great question though. Rob, did you want to add anything on the custom dome?
I think that's what custom domes is all about. We have the whole MMO side of it. People would see that as a traditional Web2 game like New World, but we also have the custom domes where you can create your own experience. You will use all our tools that we were building, and the reason that the custom domes are coming later is because they will be using the functionality that we are building for our main game to pull over into those. So you can have PvP, PvE, there'll be leaderboards, there'll be all kinds of task structures. You'll be able to have NFT gating, so you'll be able to sell tickets or have experiences for your domes. So it really is for entrepreneurs and for large organizations to kind of do what they want with them and create that Web3 metaverse presence. Dare I say it?
So thinking about that, like it becomes very much it becomes very much a situation where people can build within like they can build their own thing within your thing, right? Like they can have their own experiences, and then you have a platform where people are building, and that becomes extremely cool. And that definitely bridges into a whole new level of engagement where players are bringing other players to their experiences. And I think that almost gets us to a place where to talk about mainstream and go in mainstream adoption. We kind of touched on this a little bit. Again, I want to scope out a little bit. Do you guys think, is it your thesis here that eventually Web3 gaming will just eventually be called gaming, and the Web3 tech will just be kind of under the hood
Oh,
of
Yeah, yeah,
everything?
100%.
Or
yeah,
okay,
we're definitely seeing that now. Yeah, I mean, games forever. Even now, they've all got in-game currency. You look at Fortnite, they've got V-Bucks. You look at Roblox, and they've got their versions as well. You convert them into a cryptocurrency, and suddenly the player owns their own assets, and they can get value out of the game. Yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah, the all of the lingo, the NFT, the Web3, all of that. Like, what is it really about? When you get on the internet, is it about everything that's behind the scenes that powers us to be able to talk together, or is it about us being able to talk together right now? That's what it's about. So with gaming, it's the same. It's like it's about the game. And if you can make the game better using Web3 technology, fantastic. Do people need to know that it's Web3 technology and how blockchain works and how NFTs work? No, they don't. Not really. Especially when it comes to mainstream gamers, if we have to teach people how to set up seed phrases and all of that, like that's going to be a slow onboarding process. But we have some cool ideas on how that's going to work. And the Web3 element, I'm definitely not saying that's not important. It's incredibly important. It empowers gamers to take it to a whole new level. And we absolutely love that. But people get lost in the jargon sometimes, and mainstream's still a little bit antagonistic towards us, Web3.
I think for me, it is frustrating because when you with Web3, let's go from Web2 point of view. People do not own their own assets. If the game was to switch off, all that money that you put into it has all been lost. But people have been trying for decades to have these black marketplaces. With CS:GO, you can go and buy your skins, but it's absolutely full of scammers. Then you go and do all these third-party marketplaces. Web3 as with NFTs and the blockchain has got the marketplaces built in from day one. We have a secure and reliable and verifiable, that's our starting point, that you will transact and everything is visible on the blockchain. And when people understand this, and it is as Web3 innovators, it's our job to educate people. But this is what we're doing. Gaming goes to the next level. You will be able to buy your skins, and then you'll be able to trade them with other people when you get fed up with them. They're not lost forever, where everybody owns one certain skin. You can go and trade and you might not get the full value back, or maybe you will. I don't know. None of that is guaranteed. Some skins will be worth a lot, some will be worth less. But the main point is that you'll be able to trade them in a really secure way that's built in to the platform, the foundational level, and I think that is really, really disruptive, and people are crying out for that for decades. Scammers exist everywhere within Web2.
Oh, and on top of that, I think not only is, this sort of new edge, this new page in gaming answer that huge sort of financial, not my assets, the whole Call of Duty taking everybody's skins when they went from Warzone 1 to Warzone 2, but also the second biggest complaint I hear, which is communities of gamers don't feel heard by their games.
Yeah.
So that's like the number one complaint I hear from my brother, who's a Call of Duty maxi, is he's like, me and all my buddies are saying the same things, these clear fixes that they could do to like make us happy. And sometimes there's a bigger picture that doesn't work. But a lot of the times those could increase the experience for a lot of gamers. And so not only do we have the blockchain aspect, but I think we've revolutionized game dev and turned it from something that was behind a curtain, like a big blockbuster movie, to something I compare much closer to stand-up, where every day you're sort of getting out there, interacting with the community, trial by fire, and you're going to end up with these really special projects.
Dude, yeah, that's one of the biggest, I think, paradigm shifts that occurs when you switch from mainstream to Web3 gaming is you now have a shift in the thinking of how you start a game. You get to go to your community and participate with them first at the very beginning. And so that's one thing that we're incredibly proud of, that what we've done with our community is we've cultivated and brought people in that are creative, they're inspired, they love what we're doing. And so we've just got a really powerful group of people, not just our passionate team, but also our community that we're building with all along the way. And that's such a cool thing because we get to take their feedback and we see what they like, what they don't like, we hear, we listen. And that's awesome. So mainstream says, no, we're going to build for 6 years, and then we're going to release something. There's drawbacks to both sides, without a doubt, but I love this approach. We're building a community as we go. We show them everything that we build. Rob and I have a show called Kopi Cafe where we talk about everything that we're working on as much as possible to be transparent with the community all along the way. Rob's in there talking to him. I'm in there talking to him in Discord, and we're building relationship. It's fun. It's a community feel that really is, it's something special. It's like, and I think a lot of the Web2 type games, they miss out on that. But I do think that the future, the two are merging in a way that's going to be incredibly powerful. And Web2 is moving towards Web3. And we're going to meet in the middle, and it's going to be a powerful gaming experience because of it.
I think probably the biggest like barrier to entry to that vision is winning over the hearts and minds of the gamers themselves. And there's nothing more powerful than, in my opinion, than winning over the people, right? What's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back there? Like, what do you think is what's it going to be? Is it going to be somebody hitting a billion players on their game, or 100 million players on their game or something, and then they just can't ignore the fact that there's so many freaking people playing? Or like, is it going to be somebody, people start making so much money from something that everybody's going to be like, oh, wow, well, it can't be a scam if they're making money from it? Or is it going to take a certain big company to like legitimize it in some way? Like, what is that really going to look like in you guys' opinion? What's it going to take?
I think you said a lot of it.
Yeah.
But big studios, when they start to endorse utilizing blockchain, that's going to be a big deal. But it definitely takes the success of some Web3 games coming out the gates and getting millions of users. That sort of thing will definitely start to get some attention. It'll be a little bit at a time, and then it's going to happen all at once, is what I think. But it sounded like Rob had something too.
No, I agree. At the moment though, the issue is these big studios, they have such a hold on games. They don't care about the gamers whatsoever. The gamers are still going out there. There's no choice. That as long as the gamers keep playing them, when gamers see there's an actual shift, and when Web3 starts actually eating into that revenue, and then Web2 will change. That's going to be the shift. But at the moment, we've seen it with Bitcoin. There's so much resistance from the institutions, but eventually it builds so much momentum. You see the shift. It's inevitable. But we are one of those early pioneer Web3 games that are. We are going against the tide. We are going uphill. But we all know in cryptocurrency there's benefits in being early. When Web2 games come out, like Josh says, 6 or 7 years later, they spend 100 million. So you never heard of them. They then spend 100 million in marketing on every single poster, and they are either an instant hit or a miss. A game that can be built for 7 months suddenly disappears. Everybody is fired within 6 months if that does not take off. Whereas in Web3, we have 3, 4, 5, 6 years of building a community. When the game is released, because they've seen it, like with us, they've seen it 2 years in. The game is not a surprise when it comes out. It shouldn't be a miss because it's actually been low risk. We've had so much feedback as we've gone along. If if some of the components or some of the gameplay doesn't work, we know it. We speak to the people. We see the feedback every single week. And I think it is a completely different way of building a game, building the community as you're building the game. I think is completely different. And I think it's the way that game should be, because the number one that's going to play the game is the players. You know, doing clever marketing and conning people into buying your game because you see it on every advert is one thing, but then you get a million players on day one.
You get a spike and then a drop off.
Yeah, and then it just drops off. That is not the way. You go the other way, and you will get players that keep coming back and back again. And you know, and I think that could be a real turning point for Web3 and games like ours. The community.
Yeah,
I mean, the community. We say community. They're the players. They're the gamers. You look after the gamers, and the gamers will look after the play. Yeah, it's as simple
I think what you're describing is a Web 2 pump and dump on their player count chart.
It is true. Yeah, they hype the market up. People ape in, suddenly realize, and before they know it, yeah, they're all rucked. You know, it does happen in some circumstances. It is interesting, the parallels.
Yeah, if it doesn't have the substance, the fun, the stickiness, the progression, the unpredictability, all of these things that, again, you know, and Rob's right, like you get feedback all along the way with your community. You're building relationships, you're building a large group of people slowly, gradually. It's not immediate gratification. We're all patiently waiting for custom domes, you know, it's that kind of thing, but we build together, and it's a cool experience for sure.
I want to take us to a probably totally different topic. I want to talk about AI. How are you guys thinking about it? How's it impacting your game? How is it going to impact the player experience? Let's do a deep dive.
Sure. Quick heads up. I have to jump to another podcast in 9 minutes that our PR firm had set up for me. So I do have to hop to that. But
back to backs. Well done, PR firm.
Oh, yeah. I think Rob had one earlier this week or earlier today as well. But yeah, AI is powerful, obviously. And I'm actually somewhat scared of it, but we definitely have I'm scared of it on a different level of the implications for what's going to happen with that as many huge, enormous corporations you know, bring that forward. But for gaming, I think it's incredibly powerful. I mean, we're very excited about having AI powered NPC NFTs. That's something that is going to be incredibly fun. And when we get to that, which isn't that far away, it's going to be powerful for a gamer. So you could have your own, you could have a pet, or you could have a friend that is like you can engage with and chat with because it's connected to an LLM. So you could have an LLM that's trained on the Cornucopias lore and everything about Cornucopias, that's designed to be your own personal robot that helps you carry out tasks within the game, and you own that asset and you can sell that asset. That's powerful. But yeah, that's just one little example. I mean, we're using it in a variety of ways for mock-ups and design. Sometimes we use it in the art to give us creative inspiration. There's just a variety of things that you can do with it, with AI, that's incredibly powerful. Rob added it into our Cornucopias wiki, so you can go ask questions on the wiki. And that pulls the data, and you know, it's instead of having to read the 400-page wiki that we have, or is it 500 now? I don't know. It's a big wiki. Instead of having to read the whole thing, if you just wanted to go find something out real quick, you can, you know. So there's a lot of implications, without a doubt.
All I would ask is that for your AI NPCs, if they ever become antagonists, yeah, that would fight against the players. Maybe there could be like a hard-coded preventing them from thinking through the easiest way to stop this player in game is to stop them IRL, and because then they can't come in the game to fight me. So please put in something like that so they don't come after us IRL. That's my only ask, please.
That's deep, dude.
Skynet protocol.
Who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, you've got AI built into
Ready Player One shit.
now. An incredible combination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, I'm so glad that we got a chance to do this. definitely you guys are welcome anytime to come back on the pod. Clearly y'all are fellow citizens of NT. So we're so grateful that y'all came on, and that you're part of the pod and part of what we're building here, to really become more interlinked with all the wonderful projects in the space. Please feel free to come back anytime. We're very grateful. Thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having us on the show. I love what you guys are doing at Neo Tokyo. It's awesome. It's great to see. So it's important for the industry. Web3 gaming, you guys are adding a lot. So thank you for the invite. We're glad to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. We're glad to come back.
Awesome. Rob, Josh, thank you so much. Nick, as always, a pleasure. And we'll see everybody on the next episode of Interlinked.
Tokyo.